A star, a failed movie, a multi-million-dollar lawsuit, and now an international flight to one of the most exclusive and enigmatic destinations on the planet. Rachel Zegler, who just months ago was being promoted as the new face of Disney, has vanished from the public eye. And we're not talking about a temporary break. According to multiple sources, the actress has left the United States and landed in none other than Dubai. There's no official schedule, no public appearances, not a single word. So, is this just a voluntary retreat after the media collapse of Snow White? Or are we witnessing a legal strategy to avoid an unprecedented legal storm in the entertainment industry? While Disney scrambles to recover hundreds of millions in losses, Rachel seems to have chosen to disappear. Stay with us, because what you're about to uncover goes far beyond an actress and a movie. It's a story of control, broken contracts, and reputations vanishing into thin air. The story began with noble intentions, to reinvent Snow White for a new generation, with a modern narrative and a reimagined princess. Independent and a young actress full of charisma, Rachel Zegler had been chosen to lead one of Disney's most ambitious projects. The studio was expecting a box office avalanche, massive merchandising success, and a wave of popularity that would launch her into global stardom. But the reality turned out to be quite different. From the very first interviews, Zegler's tone puzzled fans. Her sarcastic remarks about the original prince, the love story, and the classic 1937 film sparked a firestorm on social media, and the flames only grew. What started as mild irritation quickly turned into viral outrage. Hashtags like "Not My Snow White" and "Boycott Disney" gained traction. And as the movie tanked at the box office, Disney executives began looking for answers. According to sources close to the studio, the situation escalated to unimaginable levels. The project's estimated loss surpassed $250 million, and during internal meetings, Zegler's name came up repeatedly. There was talk of reputational damage, violations of image clauses, and even broken contracts. Behind closed doors, some high-level executives were reportedly pushing for her to be held financially accountable. Then, in the middle of this explosive context, the unexpected happened. Rachel disappeared. She stopped giving interviews, cancelled all commitments, and most shockingly, it was leaked that she had already left the country on a private flight bound for Dubai. Neither her representatives nor Disney confirmed or denied the information, but on social media, details began to surface. Deleted itineraries, removed comments, even the flight path of her plane tracked by curious fans. What initially seemed like a simple break was now perceived as a flight. Why Dubai? That's the question everyone is asking. It's not just any destination, it's a city known for its luxury, discretion, and reputation as a safe haven for celebrities wanting to disappear from the media radar. Some say Zegler went there for reflection. Others believe she's seeking international legal counsel. And there are those who claim her crisis team sent her away intentionally, as part of a strategy to prevent further public missteps, while Disney weighs the possibility of legal action. What's certain is that her silence has been absolute. No posts, no stories, no appearances, from someone who had once been everywhere during the promotional campaigns. This sudden absence feels like more than just a spiritual retreat. It feels like a strategy, or perhaps a warning. Music. Fear. Meanwhile, inside the halls of Disney, the atmosphere is one of complete damage control. No one mentions Zegler publicly, and the official statements are vague at best. The strategy seems clear. Distance the studio from the actress and from the Snow White disaster as quickly as possible. Behind the scenes, legal teams are combing through every clause, every interview, every post, searching for anything that could justify a financial claim. Some rumors suggest that private legal notices have already been sent, seeking compensation to avoid taking the case to court and further exposing the collapse of the brand. What's certain is that Rachel is no longer seen as a Disney ambassador. She's gone from being the face of a new era to becoming a symbol of what can go wrong when a message disconnects from its audience. And her disappearance, because that's what it looks like, only reinforces that perception. The image of a fallen figure who no longer represents the Magic Kingdom, but rather the shadow of a bet that ended in ruins. Although few dare to speak publicly, within the industry, Rachel Zegler's situation has become unavoidable. Producers, talent agencies, and executives from other studios have begun to apply. A new, unofficial, but devastating label. Not recommended. No one says it out loud, but the consequences are already being felt. Contracts in negotiation have been frozen. Projects in development that once considered her are now being reassessed. Her name is now tied to one of Disney's biggest public and financial failures, making her a high-risk figure for any future investment. And it's not just about the box office numbers. It's about how everything was handled. Her tone in interviews, her defiant attitude, her apparent disregard for Disney's legacy, and above all, her sudden disappearance amid swirling legal rumors have caused many in the industry to question, is Rachel Zegler a bold modern voice with conviction, or a reputational risk no one can afford? That doubt now lingers, and in Hollywood, where perception drives millions, that doubt can close more doors than any contract clause ever could. Contractual. On social media, the case of Rachel Zegler has sparked a sharp and emotional divide. On one side are her defenders, those who argue that she is not the problem, but rather the victim of a studio that failed to support its own vision and is now seeking a scapegoat to cover its own mistakes. These supporters criticize Disney for abandoning its lead actress at the most critical moment and insist that Rachel simply played the role she was hired for. For them, her escape to Dubai is a natural response to the media lynching and institutional abandonment she faced. But on the other side, her critics show no mercy. They describe her comments as arrogant, dismissive, and deeply offensive to generations who grew up with Snow White. They accuse her of sabotaging the film with her mocking attitude toward the character's original values and of insulting audiences with her disregard for the story. To these critics, her departure abroad isn't a moment of reflection. It's a calculated move to evade the consequences of her actions. And the longer she stays silent, the more that suspicion grows. Beyond the exotic appeal or privacy that Dubai might offer, her choice of refuge raises deeper questions. The Emirate is known not only for its luxury, but also for having limited legal extraterritoriality, something that has led analysts to speculate whether Zegler's trip was legally advised, especially if Disney plans to escalate matters to the international stage. Her complete withdrawal from the public eye, the precise silence of her inner circle, and the lack of any official record of a return have only added to the mystery. What once looked like a PR misstep has taken on a far more delicate tone. In the media narrative, her disappearance has become symbolic. Rachel is no longer just an actress who made some communication errors. She's now an enigma, a ghost who walked away from a storm and now exists in a golden limbo. For some, that makes her more human. For others, it only turns her into a more distant and disconnected figure, far from the audience that once wanted to believe in her. Inspiration. While all this unfolds, Disney's legal circle moves with caution, but determination. According to various sources, the studio's lawyers have already explored several options, ranging from a direct lawsuit to a confidential, private settlement in order to prevent further damage to both parties' reputations. There are real contractual clauses related to morality, brand protection, and public conduct, and all indications point to Disney being prepared to invoke them if they don't receive some form of compensation for the film's losses. The challenge is that any misstep could backfire. Suing an actress publicly could be seen as corporate bullying, but doing nothing might be interpreted as weakness in the face of one of the studio's most disastrous PR crises ever. That's why an intermediate route is not off the table. A quiet settlement, with strict confidentiality conditions and a controlled, prolonged withdrawal of Zegler from the public eye. The only thing that's clear is this. What began as backlash over a poorly managed interview has now evolved into a legal, media, and symbolic dilemma. One that could redefine how Hollywood handles its crises. At the heart of this media and legal hurricane stands a figure who once symbolized modern empowerment, but has now become a case study in the collapse of public image. Rachel Zegler. Despite being surrounded by advisors, agents, and strategists, she is now isolated. Disney no longer stands behind her. Her team no longer dares to speak for her. And her once buzzing social media is now frozen in time. A silence that no longer reads as caution, but as emotional exhaustion. According to people close to her, Rachel is going through one of the hardest moments of her life. Some insiders claim she's cried to the point of exhaustion, feeling betrayed by a system that first lifted her to the heights, only to let her crash. A career that once promised to be meteoric now hangs by a thread. Opportunities have stalled, contracts have vanished, and the image that was once hailed as the fresh voice of a new generation now carries the burden of being the face of Disney's greatest misstep in the remake era. But beyond the industry, beyond money or brand, what's visible is a much deeper fracture. Zegler appears to have lost faith, not just in the studio that hired her, but in the very narrative she once championed. There are no more bold declarations, no ironic interviews, no speeches about progress, only the echo of an absence that speaks louder than any statement. And in that silence, in that calculated distance, lies an uncomfortable truth. Sometimes, not even the magic of cinema or the backing of giants can save someone caught in the crossfire of interests, ideologies, and expectations. Contracts. Rachel Zegler once dreamed of becoming the new Snow White, not just a princess, but the voice of a generation. But what started as a starring role turned into a storm of epic proportions. Criticism, burning contracts, hidden lawsuits, and a silent escape to Dubai. What collapsed wasn't just a film, it was the carefully crafted narrative of a system that demands perfection, but doesn't forgive missteps. Disney is scrambling to save its brand. Fans are demanding respect for their beloved classics, and Rachel, caught between these two relentless forces, seems to have chosen the only refuge left: silence. Today, there are no clear answers, only open questions. Was she a victim of poor marketing, or a voice that failed to measure its impact? Is she running from a real legal battle, or from an industry that cast her as a villain before allowing her the space to grow as an artist? Can an actress recover from a fall like this, or has Hollywood quietly written her final chapter? Now, we want to hear from you. Do you think Rachel Zegler is fleeing a lawsuit, or simply the overwhelming weight of mismanaged fame? Was she used as a scapegoat, or should she be held accountable for her words? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We're reading everything, and if you don't want to miss the next revelations, unexpected twists, and untold truths from the world of showbiz, subscribe into the channel and turn on notifications, because here we don't tell fairy tales, we uncover them.